Hello, everybody. If you can tell by the title of this video, it's kind of a follow-up to a video I did 5 years ago, which is basically, I would call this chapter 2 of Asperger's My Life. Asperger's My Life was the video I made 5 years ago where I officially came out of the public for the first time about my autism spectrum, which is Asperger syndrome. That video obviously meant a lot to me 5 years ago, and it was, I think, a few weeks ago or like earlier this month, I was thinking, should I consider doing a follow-up video for to that, because it's been 5 years since it happened, and what has happened to me in my personal life throughout the past 5 years since I released that video, outside of like doing my own content on YouTube. So the basic sum up for those who don't know, like if you have not seen the first video, just to sum up, my name is Brian Crowell. I was 21 when the video came out. Now I'm 26 years old, and I have Asperger syndrome. So if you have not seen that first video, I kind of recommend you kind of check that video out first before you come in to see in this video. And as I kind of stated, that this video is basically taking like what has happened to me for the past 5 years since I have been now more going through the perspective from what was like a teenager going to almost full adulthood to what has now become almost like, for me as an adult right now, for throughout the past, well, this decade specifically so far, and what has been happening throughout it. Now, like the original video, I'm not going to go too personal, like with my family and stuff like that. That's obviously its own thing. I don't like to really talk a lot about my personal life, family-wise, and my social media pages in general. I just keep that private for me. But yeah, whole story short, if you've seen the video, like I obviously talked about, like a lot of the systems. I was diagnosed with it at either 7 or 8 years old, and like a lot of the symptoms that I have with it, and then some things that would be very struggling for me when I was really ending the teenage years and going into the 20s. But now, this obviously now takes place now with me around the mid-20s of what has happened. So even though I've been repeating that, that's one of the symptoms I would say. So this is just more of like what has been happened for the past 5 years since I released that video. And obviously I've been a little bit more proud of that video, even though I did revisit it yesterday, the day I'm recording this, and it still meant a lot to me. And I looked at a lot of the comments, specifically some of my close friends that really meant a lot to it, and obviously had like recent conversations about with some people lately, and just like the past few years or something like that. But it was something that really meant a lot to me when I did that video. And now, what has happened throughout the past 5 years? It will kind of start a little bit in almost a little bit of a positive note, but then it kind of would go into like not really a negative note, but some things that obviously when the real world comes into play. So, and I kind of, like I did in the original video, I kind of have a list here on my laptop of like some things that I want to talk about. Not much like anything of symptoms or anything, but more like a journey specifically. So if you have not seen that video, I recommend you obviously watch that first. And so this is basically kind of like a sum up, resuming where I have left off. So after when I made that video, in my personal life, it still kind of pretty went normal, but the biggest changement that has been is that I kind of somewhat live independently. Like technically, yes, I still live in the house where my parents are at, but I live in basically the other side of it, to be precise, with my eldest sister. So I have somewhat of a little bit of an independence with myself doing rent here, so obviously, if you go back to the old videos, I used to do a lot of the videos in my original room, which is still kind of over there, but now it's a little bit changed a lot. But I kind of have finally moved a little bit independently myself here around October of 2021, so just a few months after I made that video. And it really meant a lot, and I kind of have a little bit more of independence here of like just obviously now dealing with like obviously a little bit more of like my comfort a bit zone, a little bit of my own time, like owning some things that I can have like on my side of the house, and then doing other things like the typical adults would do, like a little bit of cooking and obviously laundry and stuff like that. And that obviously had made me improve a little bit of like going through the phase a bit of adulthood, like going back to grocery stores like a lot more times than usual, than I was in the past. I remember doing that a lot when I was a kid with my parents, but now I kind of also go like around to the stores and see like what type of foods I want to try something new. And like just recently, I just for the first time had a Hungry Man Salisbury steak, kind of half and half on it, but the steak was really good. I've also been kind of getting not just a little bit, also maybe a little bit of steak, but also hamburgers a lot more lately, as well as a couple of others I've been trying out. As like there are still some places like restaurants out there that I've yet to try out. Like I still have to do Popeye still in my area. And although there is a Chick-fil-A in our area, I can't do it because since they use peanut oil and since I have a peanut allergy, I can't really do that. So that's kind of unfortunate, but I've been trying a little bit more foods. Driving itself, I've been really improving upon that one. I think I've been getting more used to it. But I think now with the recent weather changements, as we're heading into the spring, I've been starting to test out on wearing sunglasses when I'm driving when the sun is like close to where I am when I'm driving. Not too close, but like in the position where you're driving. You get the idea and stuff like that. But it is not that easy to living somewhat with adulthood. But then again, that's kind of more of the personal side of the family side portion of it. Not negative, but it's just some I won't go into it because it's obviously a sister thing with one of my eldest sister. But I won't go into that video because that's not really something. So yeah, it's kind of like a more of a normalcy life for me here. And then as for my YouTube journey, it has obviously been more of a slower progress. Like I'm very close to like 5,000 subscribers since I've been doing videos for about 10 years now. Like the account was made in 2010, but I've not made a video like been making videos since 2016. So it's been almost like 10 years, and like getting to revisit some of the older videos when there was a whole trend to throw back to 2016 going on at the beginning of the year. It was kind of something nice to revisit, but it's just that it kind of almost feels like this would kind of go in something a little bit later on, how it's not really that successful, but there is something a little bit more about that later on. So yeah, when I revisited the original and what I said about the video, it kind of really meant a lot to me. So when I've said of some of the positive sides, but this video, I think there is a lot of negative sides, I would say, to me, at least. I had this a little bit in the bottom position right now, but I think I want to bring this up as this is almost basically the whole sum up of it. I felt like I've never moved forward and been stuck in almost the same position I was for the past 5 years. Although there is a little bit of alteration differences, like I mentioned, living somewhere on my own and doing a lot more other things, but not by much. Like, obviously, there are still things I have never done. Like, I'm still not in a relationship, since I've been still single since then. I still have that blue Valentine, but it's been something that I've been not focusing on a lot more lately. But then again, it kind of it's not really because of, oh, I want a girl so badly. It's just I think it was like I think I said in the original that it was one of my 12th grade history teachers to try to focus on like the things you want to do before you get in a relationship status. And I think, unfortunately, I might have taken that a little bit too much and not had moved forward a little bit with like other things in my life. Even in my real life job, which I will not state what it is, although there had been a little bit of a changement that had occurred in around the end of September of 2023, but it has been still almost the same since then. It's just that it's been more of a slower progress than I thought it was. Even here in my independence, it felt like I just been doing the same things over and over again. It just like, it kind of felt like, yeah, everyone does the same things over and over again in normal life, but like when you compare that to somebody else that's like a close friend of yours or another family members, they get to do something very different every time, but not something like me, for instance. And it just really felt like I almost felt like a taste of failure, I would say. Especially on my YouTube channel. Like, I'm not asking like for tons of views, but I felt like I've been kind of failing at making views in general and decreasing, I would say. Like looking at some of the past videos I have done, including a lot of the Macy's parade stuff, some of them have just averaged to getting at least 1,000. Like, yeah, I'm only like less than 5,000 subscribers, but I had not had a video since in a long time of getting 5-digit marks, like in the 10,000 areas, because I was very happy with the one fact almost every Macy's parade balloon video, and that was the last video that I had a double-digit one, and then the last one that had 5 digits prior to that was my it was in your top 10 Macy's parade balloons video, and that was kind of about it. I have been stuck at least usually on the 3-digit mark on mostly every daily video, and this is not also with just me, but this happens to every YouTuber, that they sense a taste of failure when it comes to views, when they are very proud of a video they have done, but it ends up becoming a disaster in general, with just not a lot of people seeing it, because yeah, there was a lot of people that would not be interested in like some types of contents, but I really want to do others, but it's just that fortunately it almost felt like I never had a time or something like that to do some of these. But it really is very honest that I kind of felt like it's not because I'm losing faith of doing videos. I think it's just the daily life that unfortunately prevents me from doing some massive things I want to do. And I can't really do it because that kind of leads into how I view the world nowadays. Obviously, everyone agrees the 2020s has not been a great decade in general. It's not been fantastic, and one of the biggest issues is, of course, politics in general. Because I don't want to talk about politics in general, and there is a reason why, but I'm not going to reveal it why, because it's too personal, but it was something that I regretted doing, and I keep that to prevent me from never going political again, because it went a little bit too far. It just felt like I almost lost something, and it just really took too much. It's not a family issue, it was just something that took me a little bit too far. It's just too personal. I can't really go into the video because but that moment, it was around the time around 2021 actually, and I kept that, and told me to never go political again, and which is why I keep getting frustrated of seeing politics every single day on the news, whether local or mainstream news wise, or on a YouTube clickbait ad or something like every YouTube recommendations and stuff like that, both left and especially the right. I just don't care about any side in general. That's just why I felt independence with myself, and it's just like, it almost feels like I just view politics to be basically villains. If I'm in the world of a movie or a television series, the politics are basically the enemy. Not every politician is an enemy, but when you look at some of the politicians, both left and right, you don't know who to trust. This is not just in the United States, but the whole world in general. And if some people would get triggered for what I said, that's their problem, not mine. And if they're going to try to cancel each other out and stuff like that, they're just trying to be bullies, and that's what they are. I'm just not gonna ignore what they say because it's none of their business of my personal life. But that would lead into a massive anger management that I've had for almost the past few years. Um, like, it's not really anything much of my family per se. It's just mostly like everything that's around it. And even I do get a little bit of anger sometimes at my job, not because of um, not because of me working on the things. It's just there's a lot of repetitiveness that kind of does annoy me, especially some massive trolling going on. It just like they keep repeating that, and it just kind of pisses me off and stuff like that. And obviously any real world elements and stuff like that, and like I mentioned, politics and stuff like that. Uh, and then like when like a lot of problems that have occurred, like obviously not just politics and wars and stuff like that, but even random things that just makes me super angry. Like, this is gonna very be interesting here, but I will admit throughout 2023, I was just so mad at, very oddly enough, it was a celebrity. I was just so angry because the news media would just not shut up, sorry to say that, about Taylor Swift. Like, throughout 2023, there was always a news story about her every single week. And it just, like, got me so angry because it's just like they just did not, it's just almost like a massive bias towards the celebrity. And, like, imagine if this was not just Taylor Swift, but imagine this also being, like, other celebrities as well. Like, I can say, like, Timothy Chalamet, for an example, or with his controversies lately, or another great one, like, you can even say the Kardashians, but that's because obviously everyone hates them. But, like, every time when somebody talked about Taylor Swift, it gave me so much anger because it just, like, I am tired of it. It just, like, she's been mentioned every single week. It just felt like, it almost is like, I almost felt like, it felt like the news media was like, we had to pay her taxes and stuff like that. It is just like you can tell with shows like Good Morning America, The Today Show, maybe CBS This Morning, or any other news media throughout 2023 had a massive bias towards her. And when she was named Time Magazine's Person of the Year, I was like, I was done with 2023. And that anger management on Taylor Swift, I don't hate her in general, since it's been more quiet for the past few years. It's just the NFL thing is just kind of the only thing that don't really care about. It's just with that, work, politics, and stuff like that, and then throughout the personal lives of me becoming a failure, it almost felt like throughout that time, especially in 2024, the year of the presidential election, that went me into the quarter life crisis that I had. It really just, because with me turning 25, it just like, you just want things to be back the way it was. Like, I almost felt like I want to go back to the days when I was in high school, or back in the days when I was a kid in the 2000s. Like, we want to go back in a time when our country was very likable, but now it's one of the most hated countries right now in the world. Especially what's been going on right now. Because even though we're not there yet, if you have seen an interesting video on regarding fascism, it almost is in the point of like, we were almost in that phobia, we would have been landing into a second U.S. Civil War, and there's still that possibility that could happen, especially depending on what happened in the 2028 presidential election 2 years away, and this year's the midterms, and that could also be something as well. But it really, like, the politicians, my anger towards Taylor Swift in 2023, to things that I wasn't really fond with, like, and almost having me becoming almost a bit failure on YouTube a bit with views wise. it almost felt like I was stuck in that crisis really happened, and it made me get stuck inside my brain, and I never got out of it. Like, it almost like I want to see the world and something like that, but the pandemic obviously kind of really caused that massive problem and made everyone almost completely nuts in this decade, and especially in politicians. And for me, it makes me think I'm stuck inside my brain, and I never got out of it, as I just mentioned. If like, here's the thing: it's almost like the real me inside my brain was charging in is charging inside my brain and trying to escape it to find the answer that I need to be freed. And for some reason, there's always love that's the answer. I don't know why. Um, but it could be something else that I'm not underestimating and stuff like that. Like a good example of me, like I was supposed to mention this, but how I'm when you when I said being stuck in my brain and trying to get out of it. Imagine if you've seen the movie Finding Nemo, where Marlin is trying to get out of the whale's mouth and like charging it and trying, and he keeps failing at it. That's what is kind of like what is me inside right now. The real me inside is trying to escape the brain and trying to be free at one point, but it's never gonna. There was almost a portion of it that almost did, but something happened, um, and unfortunately, it got me stuck inside the brain. So throughout late 2024, after the election into um, 2025, I tried my best for things I really wanted to do. The biggest thing, obviously, that had occurred to me is that I managed to return back to the my church, specifically the Catholic Church, of course, since I'm Catholic. I had been gone from it ever since the pandemic occurred, and I was still very uncomfortable going back to it, even when the obligations were reinstated in the summer of 2021, and I think that was not a good reinstatement because I think we were still not there yet. But now I returned back in the beginning of the last liturgical year, and I obviously had to make a confession, of course, for me not being there, and also I also felt like the bishops were going too political in recent years. But after I managed to do that confession in December of last year and then been more involved with it, including doing that video on the conclave that had occurred last year, electing our first U.S. Pope, it really got me a little bit back into the Catholic faith a bit. So it kind of really was something. And then obviously another thing was reconnecting with some friends of mine, some high school friends. Like there was like one I do see often a couple times in church lately. And then of course there was also my interview I had with my friend Morgan on her book, Nor Were There Lovers. And it was something I really meant a lot to me of reconnecting with it. I mean, I talked about this, I think, in the 25 years of my 25 years old video I did on my birthday on January 1st of 2025, when I mentioned that I got to reconnect with a lot of my high school buds, and it was the launching of that book where I reconnected with some of these, and it was like my first public, I would say my first public appearance seeing my friends since I came out of the My Autism Spectrum. Like specifically with my close friends. I had two great conversations with two great girls, and then obviously when it came to like the Without a Q alumni event that occurred last year, of the retirement of my high school drama teacher, it was great to see him like a close friend of mine, and it really meant a lot to reconnecting with some people that I've not spoken to in a bit, and I've been trying my best as well. It is pretty unique to see some of them again, although it's still been kind of struggling. Like, obviously, because now almost all of my high school graduating classmates, some of them are now, like, obviously now moved in different states now, have bigger jobs, and some of them now are married, and some of them now have kids in their mid-20s. That's not something I would. Well, the thing is, it's like you don't usually. I think I never saw that during my childhood days, but I think it's just that you. that's what I thought in my childhood days. I thought you had to be in your 30s to start having kids or something like that. When that was back when I was a kid. But now it's been more of a trending thing, and obviously there's still like a lot of more increasing of more younger parents, as we've been seeing a lot in recent years in their 20s. And it's very odd they have been advanced a little bit faster, more so than I am. Like, a lot of them are now like up there, and I'm kind of like still like they're almost like some of them are in their finish lines and some of them are not. I'm almost felt like I just crossed the starting line, but then I just went back. And that's kind of very unfortunate that I never had that accomplishment of reconnecting with a lot of my friends as I wanted to in 2025, but I think it's because with me being a shy person and you don't know how busy all their schedules are, it's very, very difficult. And some of them, like I mentioned, are now out of my home area, and some of them are in different portions of my home state or out of state or somewhere else in the U.S. now. But was there anything other than returning to church and reconnecting with my friends? Was there any big major accomplishments that almost made me almost could have been a possibility? And there is one, and I know this video has been very unorganized, unlike the other thing, but I've been keeping this thing silent for the past 2 years now. And I could be mentioning this maybe in another upcoming video if I do a review on something in particular. But I can finally mention this here because this was the closest opportunity for almost, I would say for me, crossing a finish line. But it never came to be. And that was around, I just have to look this up because I still have this. Because I still have this, because I just want to keep it for references and I might show it. Yeah, it was around the end of February to the beginning of March of last year. No, of 2024, excuse me. Where around that time period, I had the opportunity to audition for a movie. Yeah, this is the first time I am talking about this. I got an email, and I still have this. I won't reveal the person's name, but it's assistant casting director that worked at JV8 Incorporated. And they were looking for somebody right now around their 20s to late 30s with somebody who has a high-functioning autism or with neurodiverse talent. And they were looking for somebody around that age to play the role of a character by the name of Dawn, to be a cousin of a conspiracy theory who kidnaps a big, powerful female CEO. And if you know what movie I'm talking about, the movie I had the opportunity to audition for was Begonia. I did not get the part. I'll be honest, I thought my audition was shit. I will admit I might have acted a little bit in that audition, because the thing is, I thought when because I'm still looking at the email, because I kept this here for a massive reference, and I might show you it here, without too much personal detail, like the person who I spoke to and stuff like that, for privacy reasons. But this person came across, I believe, my Instagram. And when I got this on the email, I was a little bit hesitant because I thought it looked like a spam, even though the email was verified. And it was a bit questioning, so I had to show this to my parents because we had to make sure this was not a scam. And I even had to email this to my high school drama teacher about this because I need to know if this was real or not. So after doing a little bit of research and making sure, like, the biggest thing was if the grammar there was no error in the grammars, and there was not. And I had to look up the person to make sure this person was real, and it was. And there was even a verified Instagram account. So after a few days and almost close to the deadline of the submission for the auditions, and I was looking over the forms specifically, and that's something I really probably should have not looked at the 5 questions, because you were not supposed to look at them. But it was just, I think, because it was almost felt like a scam thing, is just the reason it kind of overreacted for myself. Um, and so after having a phone conversation with the assistant casting director, I did my audition. Unfortunately, like I mentioned, it was shit because I did act in it. Obviously, nothing happened. And I didn't get the part, of course. I'm not saying anything negative about the casting style, stuff like that. It's just a story I wanted to tell. Yeah, and so congratulations to the young Aiden Dilibus for getting that role in Begonia. Although I've yet to see the movie because that will be part of my Oscar movie marathon. But yeah, I almost the closest opportunity for me to work on something that would have been a life changer for me. Although I will admit, looking at the trailers, I won't say anything in general because I don't want to say anything negative about the movie yet. So I'll have to wait and see how it is. Because the thing is, obviously, I will admit that having autism portrayal in movies has been very divisive when it comes to it, because they don't usually cast actual autistic people to do movie roles or television roles unless they do, but they would be for very small supporting roles. And having like this casting company actually try to work out with that, they managed to find their way they could. So kudos to them for doing their job of finding an actual autistic actor to play an autistic role. Because it's not offensive and it's pretty accurate. So yeah, I still have this with me, and it just looking at it, it's just like amazed that it's still the closest opportunity. I would have had almost a amazing opportunity for me working with people like Jesse Plemons and Emma Stone, or Emily as I call her because she wants her fans to call her that, one of the best actors working in Hollywood today. And oddly, I will admit, I had almost like dream fantasies of me working on the film. Like even this was even before when the movie was thinking. I was thinking when I was looking at the description, it was like, imagine if this is a movie with directed by Yorgos Lanthimos starring Emma Stone, and it ended up becoming that. And it's more of like not because of me in the movie, but more of like working with them. And unfortunately, obviously, that didn't happen, of course. Once again, congratulations to Aiden Delibus on his position. But that getting that audition for Begonia was a unique opportunity, even though it never came to be. But it could have happened like almost in an alternate universe. Like anyone who auditioned probably would have gotten the position in an alternate universe. I just think my audition was shit, and I just think I should have probably not looked at the questions. But once again, congratulations to Aiden, and thanks to the assistant casting director at JV Inc. for finding me and trying to audition for that movie. So that was something. So what do I think will happen to me in 5 years down the road? And honestly, I don't really know. The only thing is I might be stuck in the same position. Maybe 5 years later, I might be in a relationship. I don't know. All I just know is I don't know if I would have like another opportunity for a movie or stuff like that, or a television series. I'm not asking for sympathy for like any casting director or watching this. Like, don't do that just because of this video. Like, you have to discover actual real talent, and it's like, just don't like send me an audition for a movie or television show just because of this video. It's same thing with, like I mentioned in the original, I'm not asking for subscribers, I'm not asking for like a lot of views and stuff like that. It's just like a continuation of where I've been for the past 5 years, since I released that video and accept me as a person with a high functioning autism. Do I feel like I'm a complete failure? Not really. Do I see myself somewhere different in the future? I don't think so, unfortunately. Even like when I go into my 30s, I really don't know what's going to happen there. Like, if nothing has changed, I might not do a chapter 3, honestly. But if something is, maybe. But I just wanted to do this chapter 2 specifically of my life, of what has happened, and unfortunately, I just feel like I'm kind of stuck in my brain and still stuck in the starting line with all my fellow friends have already crossed their finish lines, but I have not. Because with the world around us and with my crisis that I had around 25 and many other things and close opportunities like auditioning for Begonia, um, and some things that never came to be that I really wanted to do, um, it's just unfortunately I just can't, because the real world kind of prevents me to doing that. Not just because we have not seen a lot of politicians against people in the autism spectrum, but it's more specifically a person with the autism spectrum dealing with what's going on in the real world and looking at who's a hero, who's a villain, stuff like that, how many close friends you want to be with, but unfortunately they're too far away. It just felt like I was super slow during my high school days because I just felt independence with myself. And I felt like I failed that, and I probably would have gone back in time to fix all the problems I did and try to reconnect with people, and maybe would have done a lot more bigger opportunities outside of like what I do on YouTube or like my real life job and stuff like that. But it's just, I never had accomplished it. So even though I felt proud with it of what I did with the first video, this one was just more of like, I just want to tell you how I feel now 5 years later, and I just felt like I might be a failure. I'm not having like big notes or stuff like that. It's just like I just felt like I'm kind of stuck. I'm not asking for help. I just don't know what to do now. Like I said, I'm not asking for sympathy. I just want you to guys follow connectedly with my story here. Although it's not really much about my autism in general, it's more about being an autistic adult is where the story of this video is about. I felt like it made a lot of sense to do this on video again on Autism World Awareness Day, and where I've been for the past 5 years, and it's unfortunately been the same. Nothing has changed. I think that's all I gotta say, so bye-bye.